Okay, so let's get our slideshow going. And I'll put our faces up in the, where should I put it so they're out of the way? Maybe right down at the bottom.
Yeah, I think so.
All right. And we'll go at the top. Okay, let me think about how we started this before.
Introductions, right?
Yeah. Okay. Hello, welcome to our tips and tricks session on Silver Moon spelling rules. We're talking today about the concept of the illustrious and often elusive schwa. We have a little bit of fun with this. My name is Kelly Steinke. I'm the founder of Read Learning Educational Services and the author of Silver Moon Spelling Rules. And I'm here with Kate Wagner. And Kate, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Kate Wagner. I'm an instructor with Read Learning Services, and I also write the blogs for Silver Moon Spelling Rules.
Wonderful. Well, it's great to have everyone here today. If you find yourself teaching spelling and reading using a systematic and explicit approach, and you find yourself getting stuck on the concept of schwa, or maybe your students are getting stuck on the concept of schwa, you're probably not alone. This is a huge challenge because schwa, let's be honest, it's kind of intimidating.
Absolutely.
Intimidating to teach, but it doesn't have to be. So Kate and I are here to tell you that schwa does not have to be intimidating. But I will tell you, I've done a lot of speaking at conferences and some PD, and especially with the Silver Moon curriculum, I've been working a lot with teachers, and a lot of teachers are telling me that they've never heard of schwa, or they have heard of it, but they're just not confident teaching the concept, so they skip it.
Kelly, I would have to admit that when I started teaching and knew nothing about our systematic approach and Orton Gillingham approaches, I never knew about what the schwa was. It was the bane of my personal spelling existence.
I can agree with that, Kate. Before I started learning Orton Gillingham based spelling and reading methods, I honestly had never heard of schwa either. So now I've been working with schwa for maybe 10 to 15 years. So we're good to go here. And so let's help teachers feel confident with this confidence so they can, with this concept so they can move ahead and help their students.
Mm-hmm.
So facts about schwa. Schwa should be mastered around the 3rd grade, not later. So with typical development, that's your goal. I'm going to move our faces here because they are covering up some of my words. A lot of people don't realize too, the most common vowel sound in all the English language is schwa. Schwa. Yeah, I know. Yeah. And that is the schwa sound. It is like a short U sound, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I was working with a student once and we were working on the schwa concept. I'll tell you a quick story. And he came to class, he sat down, and first thing you always do during a lesson is review. So I said to my student, we're gonna talk about schwa again today, but we've got to do a little bit of a review first. Do you remember what sound schwa makes? This was a middle school boy and it was beautiful outside. It was the middle of summer and he put his head in his hands and he just went, "Ugh." You got it. That is the sound schwa makes. It's the sound, that short U sound. I don't think he ever forgot that sound again.
It's perfect. Let's
That
hope
worked
that
out.
we aren't all making that sound by the time we're done here. We'll
Right?
clear that up.
Yeah, let's clear that up. So without explicit instruction in schwa, this isn't something you can just glom over or skip if you're working with struggling readers or spellers, because it's so prevalent in our language. And it creates so much confusion in reading and spelling for struggling readers and spellers when we don't teach these concepts really explicitly and systematically. So that's why we're here today.
Mm-hmm.
So Kate and I are going to give you some examples of schwa. I'm going to fast forward just a moment here and show you one slide. We tend to categorize schwa in terms of rule. So we basically have 4 schwa patterns within the English language. And when you're using Silver Moon, we categorize these patterns by name. We'll give them a spelling rule name. So our first pattern is the family cinema spelling rule. The bacon salad is the next spelling rule. Travel by camel is another spelling rule for schwa. And Majestic America is our final spelling rule for schwa. And we're going to go back to that example screen, and Kate and I will share examples of each of these rules. Here we go. All right, Kate. So what kind of difficulties have you seen with working with some of your students regarding this concept, or confusions?
I think the biggest thing is getting students to recognize when a word has a schwa. So, I think the biggest part when I'm teaching schwa is cueing students into what is the sound I'm hearing. That's my first red flag that pops up. And then what is the pattern that I'm seeing? Because that'll direct us toward the spelling rule that we can pull to frame our reference from schwa. I think the most difficult part is for kids is really knowing what are my choices for spelling it. So I like to use a lot of examples, and I like to have students use a lot of color coding to try to identify the schwa in different words. So Kelly, I'm going to give you a word. I'll pretend that you're one of my students, and I want you to first cue into the fact that you're hearing a schwa. So we'll see if you can find that schwa sound in this word. Okay.
Okay, let's give this a
So
try.
we'll try. So the word I'm going to give you is atom. Like I'm in science class and we're talking about atoms.
Okay, atoms. A-T, well, I know how to spell that word, A-T-O-M, but the first thing I have to do in order to determine if a schwa is present in a word is listen for the sound, right? So I'm really kind of emphasizing that. So I do hear an in the last syllable. That would be a closed syllable pattern. Atom.
So now Kelly knows that she's heard a schwa. It's closed in the second syllable of a word. So now we can start looking at our rules and deciding which rule this would fit under. Kelly, can you tell us what rule that would fit under out of our Silver Moon rules?
Well, like I said before, if you've got your rules all categorized and you've got a good understanding of what these are, I can right away pull out my rule. And that is most certainly the bacon salad pattern with the closed A's, closed O's at the end that say the sound.
Absolutely.
Did I get it right?
You did.
Okay,
And the
great.
good thing is now she's taken all of these vowels that could be and narrowed it down to just 2 options, the A or the O. I'd take a 50-50 chance over a chance between every single vowel out there. So that one indeed has the O.
Yeah, and you mentioned something before, Kate. You mentioned the term spelling choices. And when we start getting into schwa, we have a whole conversation with our students about accenting. And we're not going to get into accenting in this video. That would be way too lengthy for this video. But some students just have great difficulty determining which syllable is accented and which is not. And when you have a spelling choice, because you understand the patterns you're looking for, it greatly eliminates a lot of distractors, a lot of letters that aren't even a choice for your spelling. That makes sense.
Absolutely. So should we try another one?
Yeah, let's do another. So
okay.
Let's try a different rule.
Let's try the word hospital.
Hospital. Okay, so if I tap out the syllables for hospital, I'm going to listen for an within that word. So I've got has. I definitely hear an has. Hit, tol, o. So I hear the schwa sound, the sound, in the very last syllable, and I do hear an L right after it. So it is a closed syllable, but it has an L at the end,
Mm.
which reminds me of one of our Silver Moon Schwa spelling rules. I'm going to say this is travel by camel.
That absolutely is. I love this rule. I think it's just a really fun, dynamic rule anyway. But what this rule is telling us is any vowel that's not accented and followed by an L can be a schwa. So now, Kelly, what are your choices for spelling there?
Gosh, you know, with the vowel L schwa pattern, it can be any vowel
Mhm.
provided it's followed by an L. So it might be a situation where I might have to look some of this up,
Mhm.
you know, whether it be an A, E, I, or O.
Mhm.
Um, so I would guess an A though, because I know how to spell hospital.
Exactly. And you know what I
Yeah.
like about this rule is the reverse happens with reading. Although it's a little bit trickier for spelling, with reading, it's really easy because as soon as I see a vowel with an L after it and it's unaccented, I know right away it's going to be a schwa. So this one's a little bit easier for reading, but a challenge for spelling.
Yeah, it really does go both ways. You know, we're teaching spelling patterns, but in teaching these spelling patterns, it opens up the door for reading just greatly because these kids they're seeing the rules, they're identifying them, and they're immediately, you know, once they get proficient with these patterns, they can apply the sound pretty quickly because they realize that is their alternate choice for that sound for that particular vowel.
Exactly. All right, Kelly, I have two more for you.
All right,
Do you ready to take on the challenge?
I'm ready. Let's try them, Kate. What do you have?
Let's try the word benefit.
Benefit. Oh boy, maybe we should have talked before we met, huh? Okay, so let me tap it out. So I've got Ben, fit.
Mhm.
All right, I really clearly heard the in the middle syllable,
Mhm.
um, which I'm going through kind of my graphic organizer in my brain and thinking through the four schwa patterns we have.
Mhm.
Because it's a middle syllable and I hear an it's a three-syllable word. Here's our rule for three or more syllables. And it's the only
Mhm.
schwa rule for three or more syllables, you know, with that type of pattern. So going with family cinema.
Very nice. Very nice. That is exactly it. And what are our two choices for spelling when we have a family cinema type of schwa?
Yeah, that's a nice thing about this rule because there are only two choices
Mhm.
when that pattern is right in the middle of that, you know, three or more syllable word. So E or I would be the option, and we'll go with
Mhm.
E.
That's a good bet.
Yeah. And the really cool thing is, you know, once you know, these spelling rules are all taught cumulatively. So once you get to the point of schwa, a student should be able to type the word into their Google Docs or whatever word processing system they're using with that one letter as a question mark. You know, they could even guess E or I in that one spot. If they hit spell check, it should pull the correct spelling provided they only have that one letter incorrect.
Mhm.
Because it's not like having three, four, five, six letters incorrect. And then you get all sorts of wild and crazy options in spell check, and we don't want to go there.
Yes, that does get confusing, and I think our students sometimes know that well when they've got 20 different options for spell check. So it's good to narrow it down.
Yes. Okay. Do you have one more for me?
I have one more for you. Let's try the word adapt.
Adapt. Now, that might be a word a student learns in science class. And they might not be real familiar with the spelling of it, but if they learn this schwa pattern, they'll get it. So let's tap it out. So we've got adapt.
Mhm.
Well, I hear a real clear right at the beginning of that word. Dapt has a short A. So we're going to say that's probably an A in the beginning
Mhm.
because that would follow the Majestic America pattern.
Exactly. So that one's kind of cool because you really only have one spelling choice in that situation, which is the letter
A, right?
A, very good. That one seems to be all of my students' favorite rule because you have one option. If you hear an open sound,
Mhm.
it's open and it's not always in the middle, not usually in the middle. So if it's open at the beginning, open at the end, it's most likely going to be an A.
Yeah, it really is. And you know what's cool about this rule is if you are a teacher in Canada, you could totally say majestic Canada.
Ah,
Right?
yes.
You hear the and actually that would apply quite well.
That
So
would be perfect. Maybe we'll have to have one of their students design their version of the card. That would be pretty
I
cool.
know, I know, wouldn't that be cool? So there you have it. There are our 4 schwa spelling rules. Is there any other examples we wanted to go through, Kate?
I was thinking about a word that comes up pretty frequently when we're practicing this rule and a couple of our other rules are revolving around schwa. And in order to get you into this word, I just want to tell a brief story. I grew up in Wisconsin, right? And we have this lovely Midwestern accent. And sometimes this dialect gets a little bit confusing when we get to schwas. So I'll talk about one example that comes up. Um, Kelly, what do you call that thing that you might lay in the summer? It's strung between two trees and it's oh so relaxing.
Oh, my favorite place to read a book, probably a hammock?
A hammock. Did you know
Hmm.
that that's actually a schwa? But I don't hear the schwa sound.
Isn't that strange? Yeah, let's talk about this, Kate.
Yeah,
Is it a hammock or a hammock?
technically. And I grew up saying hammock too, because I grew up here in Wisconsin, and that's just how we say that word. But technically, that is a schwa because the O toward the end of the word is unaccented, it's closed. So in reality, we should say it like hammock. I thought about this a lot because I get this question from students a lot. A hammock, I've never heard of that. Why are you having me spell that? Well, the reality is that sometimes we have adapted a dialect to mimic the way a word is spelled rather than the way it's supposed to be read. And I think that might be what happened here.
Yeah, that's pretty insightful because when I look, so I've got my spelling rules in front of me, and when I look at this bacon salad pattern, hammock definitely follows that pattern. But you're right, I'm from Wisconsin as well, and have always pronounced that word hammock, and that is how it's spelled. There's another thing that comes up in dialect, depending on where you live. And Wisconsin is known for this. In our dialect, I learned this through working with lots and lots of students. Um, Oftentimes, we pronounce our schwa sound as a short I.
Yes. Yes, I've heard that too.
This,
Do you
yeah,
have an example in mind, Kelly?
I do. The first one that comes to mind is benefit. The word benefit. I mean, when I pronounce that and when my students pronounce that here at the Reading Center, they pronounce ben, I, fit.
Mhm.
When really that middle I sound is technically a schwa. It should be pronounced ben, fit. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so, with that, depending on where you are, where your geography is in the country, uh, you might need to tune into local dialects and just teach some flexibility with some of these
Mm-hmm.
schwa patterns, depending on where you
Mm-hmm.
live. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. I find that's probably one of the biggest challenges, and it just takes a little explaining about dialects, and you get a little extra learning in there too.
It is really kind of interesting. Um, so, when it comes to schwa, there is a solution to clear the confusion. It doesn't have to be elusive at all,
Mhm.
because there really are 4 schwa reading and spelling patterns. And the Silver Moon text really outlines these very clearly, very explicitly, so that teachers can learn how to teach these rules just by reading the Silver Moon text, the curriculum. And once you feel confident, you can then teach these rules very clearly to your students, especially your struggling readers and spellers. and make sure to provide them with lots of opportunities for repetition and practice in both reading and spelling. And 4 patterns isn't a whole lot. They really do catch on to these patterns, and not only will it help their spelling, but it will also help their reading.
Absolutely.
This is that table I showed you earlier. If you are looking for more information, more tips and tricks, you can certainly email, support@silvermoonspellingrules.com. I can send you our digital download in the meantime. When our digital platform is ready, this download, a tips and tricks download will be available for everyone to download on their own. And if you really, really are looking for these lesson plans, how do I just kind of, what materials do I need? What kind of words do I use? How do I organize my lesson? We have that covered for you. Do you use the lesson plans in Silver Moon, Kate?
I do. I do. They're super clear. They actually don't take quite a lot of time. So you have your instruction in there, you have your practice in there, you have an additional page for practice. So I find them very user-friendly as a teacher.
Wonderful. And so the Schwa rules are in the blue book
Mhm.
if you're looking for those lesson plans. And Schwa can be mastered. So here's one of our students just from last week at our reading center. And if you analyze her words, what concept does she have in all of those phrases?
Looks like she's working on schwas there.
Yes, she sure is. And she mastered these just beautifully.
Mhm.
So for a quick little trip over to our website, go ahead and scan the QR code in the corner here. And it's been lovely. This has been fun, Kate. Thank you for chatting with me about Schwa today.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, everyone, take care, and do feel free to reach out if you have questions at support@silvermoonspellingrules.com. Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Bye.